Morning at NTV.
Welcome back and thank you for making us the #1 breakfast show in the country. We are now getting into the next conversation of the day. On Monday, an FDC event that was meant to be in Nambole was blocked by police over claims that the party rejected police pleas for a change of venue. What followed? Were the usual scenes of tear gas and police violence. Former FDC President Kizza Besigye was hit by a water cannon, like you saw in that clip that has been making rounds, directed at him and almost blown off his car. He was later arrested and detained at Nagalama Police in Mukono until 11 p.m. Today morning, we are discussing this in light of the Interparty Organization for Dialogue resolutions on cooperation and police violence during the party events with an NRM-leaning political analyst and lawyer, Kenneth Nsubuga, and he joins me right now. Good morning, Mr. Nsubuga.
Good morning, how are you?
First off, based on those events that transpired in Nambole there, why does police keep roughing up opposition strongmen? This has been happening one too many times.
I think that's a general statement to make.
Yes.
I think our viewers should be interested in knowing the root cause of such things. And I think our police should appear smarter, that as we gear towards the 2021 elections, they should not play at the hands of the political gimmicks of the opposition. Yes.
So you think the police is playing at the at the hands of the opposition?
Because these opposition politicians are well seasoned. Some of them are lawyers. They know the laws of the country. They know what they are supposed to do. They intentionally don't do it. They intentionally participate in defiance, inviting the police to make those silly mistakes. Absolutely.
Isn't defiance part of their constitutional right?
Because now the starting point is in Uganda here. If you're going to hold a public gathering, you're supposed to notify the police. Now, some of those politicians were in Parliament in 2013 when the Public Order and Management Act was passed. Now, under that law, you're supposed to notify the police. We are going to be here, we are going to be so much, we are going to start from this time, these are the people that will attend, such that the police can ensure your safety and the safety of the people around you. Now, I'm told they notified the police. That is under the law. But still under the law, the IGP or unauthorized officer has to notify you that it is okay or it's not okay. And it has to be in writing. I'm 100% sure they never got any notification from the police. So they knew that what they were doing was illegal from the word go, but it still went ahead. So when they went to Nambole, I'm told, they were blocked. Now, after being blocked at Nambole, they went to the FDC offices, which was okay, because that is their office, the office of Honorable Semju. Now, from the office of Honorable Semju, then they decided that we're going to make a procession to Najana Nkumbi. Now, the procession to Najana Nkumbi, if you know that route very well, will pass through Chiseka Market. I will pass through Chileka Market. We will come to Nakawa, come to the business district of Kampala as you go to Entebbe Road. Now, much as you want to protect the interests and the rights of those people, the government is not there only, or police is not there only to safeguard their interests, but it's also there to safeguard the interests of this lady who woke up at 5 in the morning, got her tomatoes, and went to Chileka Market to sell and make a living. So we need to balance the two. Now, I'm told that they were advised on possible routes to take if they wanted to go to Najana Nkumbi. They refused. Now, when they refused, Dr. Kizza Besigye was ordered by the police to get out of his car, that he was under arrest. Under our laws, whether you think you are right or wrong, once a police officer tells you that you are under arrest, under our criminal procedure code, you're supposed to oblige and submit. Then when you're taken, because according to our constitution, once you are arrested, you're taken to a gazetted place, which is a police station, then other things follow, like what happened. He was taken there, his lawyers went there, still according to the law. He was given police bond, which is still his constitutional right, because he was not detained for more than 48 hours, which would have been unconstitutional, and was given bond on a charge of inciting violence, and will report back. Now, the question is, once police tells you you are under arrest, please come out of the vehicle, and you refuse still the same law gives that police officer the power to use all means necessary to effect the arrest. Now that is one. Personally, as in Subuga, I regret what happened because that was uncalled for. And no Ugandan here can sit comfortable and say, I enjoyed watching that. Because today it might be Dr. Besigye, tomorrow it might be me. So no Ugandan of whatever political leaning can say that was justified. But the question is, what was the cause? These politicians know, once a police officer tells you you're under arrest, oblige. But for them, please come out of the vehicle, remain standing. Please, sir, come out of the vehicle. Do you know what he does? He gets out from his open roof, starts waving, starts addressing the public as if it's a political rally.
But then how is that inciting violence like he was charged?
That can be a holding charge. Many others can follow. Disobedience to lawful orders and others. You know, you can be held on a holding charge as police carries out investigations into other offenses that you might have committed. But the starting point is, to all Ugandans, nobody is above the law. Whether it is me, whether it is you, whether it is Dr. Besigye, once a police officer tells you you are under arrest, please come. Don't exercise defiance. But of course, me, I'm not surprised. Now, that's not the legal side. On the political side, I'm not surprised. Because Dr. Besigye has come out on several occasions saying the president is an illegitimate president. This government is illegitimate. I'm the people's president. So,
isn't that his constitutional right?
I think he finds it difficult to subdue and respect the authorities that are in this country. But I want to appeal to our viewers that let us be law-abiding. Because the law doesn't have any lens to distinguish who you are. They will treat you the same under Article 21 of our Constitution, equality of every person before the law, whether you are who. So even if it was me, and police has told me do this and I refuse, yeah, you might regret what happens to me next.
Mr. Nsubuga, we've seen one too many times, police exercising selective application of the law, in that they'll stop an opposition rally, but then they'll let an NRM rally go undeterred. Why do we keep seeing this?
I think you made an investigative, I was watching NTV one time, and it was, I think, Baram who was being interviewed. He had an event that he had organized at Kololo, and the presumption was that he had not followed the required procedures. And the man had evidence. We went to this one, we applied here, they wrote back here, they advised us on the dates, this and this. We do, but the question is, and this is, I think the strategists and those people who are working behind the doors for NRM and government should realize that things that NRM does don't usually fall into the news. I don't know why. But simple things that opposition do find themselves with you people at a very quick time, and it's really shocking. But really they do, because that is the law. And you know, NRM doesn't control the police, because NRM is a political party with its structures. Police is for Ugandans. It's Uganda people's police force. What happens is it protects DP, it protects FDC, it protects NRM. So Ugandans should not be I won't say the word fooled, but confused with this opposition propaganda that police only works for NRM.
Actually, that is the truth, according to the facts on the ground, Mr. Nsubuga. Right now, the police looks like a very, very partisan force in that regard.
That is misleading, because I know opposition has MPs in parliament. Who protects them? I know the leader of opposition is FDC.
While they were being beaten up by the Special Forces Command, there was no police to protect the opposition MPs.
Now you're talking about what happened in Parliament.
Anyway, what I'm saying is...
Have you read the decision of the justices in the Court of Appeal and the Supreme Court in respect of that matter? Because once the Speaker says you are suspended and you refuse to move, you either removed peacefully. That's what the court explained. Because now what was supposed to happen?
But that was the mandate of the Parliament Security, not the Special Forces Command.
Since I don't work in Parliament, I don't
want
to speculate on who. But what I know is that at the end of the day, if the Speaker said you are suspended, the action was. Because now, let me ask, a person at the level of Member of Parliament has to really have etiquette and respect the Speaker. Once the Speaker says you are suspended, so why do you remain there? I'm just asking, as a simple Ugandan, why do you remain there? But as I was saying, as we gear 2021, you know, you have to distinguish the politics from the legal aspect. They know these things. But the law does not favor them. They know if the police tells me, please, Mr. Besigye, you come, you are under arrest, it will not make any news. So I have to ground stand, I have to stand up on my vehicle, such that I cause commotion, the youth come around, they sing my songs, and I get in political capital. So I'm requesting and appealing to our security forces not to play into these simple games. Because you see, we've been here, we've seen these things. There's nothing new that Dr. Kizza Besigye is going to come and tell Ugandans. What haven't they had for the last 20 years? He comes with this program, walk to work, he comes with this one. Now I think he has Twerwan Echo, there was Tubale Mese, there was... So we've seen all of this. There's nothing new. So now, when you start making these articulated political figures relevant again, it doesn't help Ugandans. So leave them, let them do whatever they want to do. People have seen them, they know President Museveni is around, it's their choice, NRM is on steady progress. So as we get towards 2021, our security forces should be conscious of these political games. But then, all Ugandans should know that we need to abide by the laws of the land. Because I was not in Parliament in 2013. Surprisingly, some of those FDC leaders I know were in Parliament 2013 when they passed these laws. And two, they have not gone to any constitutional court to challenge those provisions. Because I know there are provisions in the Police Act that Dr. Olaro Otunu went and challenged. For instance, if we are in a rally, police usually had the powers before to come and disperse that rally. Two, police could summon you to come to police. And if you refused, there were sanctions. So Dr. Olaro Otunu went to court and challenged those provisions. In our constitution, if you are dissatisfied with any provision of the law under Article 137, you go to the Constitutional Court for interpretation and for redress. These provisions have been there since 2013. Why are they not challenging them in the Constitutional Court?
Because they are saying that anyway, the provisions were put in place to just counter the 2011 walk to work protests in that regard and the future protests that were yet to come. So they knew very well that, hey, even if we go to court, this law is there to stay because it was politically motivated. That's according to their view. But anyway, let's focus on last year's meetings at the Interparty Organization for Dialogue. Resolutions were met, and one of them was to have police force work in a better way with our political strongmen, opposition strongmen in Uganda. But then we are still seeing the same pull and push between these two. Why are we back here?
But you see, you cannot destroy a house today and tomorrow you bring a bed to sleep in it when you've already destroyed it. So if you're talking about iPod, FDC, with its antics and semantics and gimmicks, refused to participate in, I think, in the last 2 or 3 events. They boycotted the summits, they boycotted everything. So now, how can they seek protection of resolutions that were passed in an organization that they boycotted to go and attend? Wouldn't that be fooling Ugandans?
But they are set to take over the mantle of the leadership of the iPod. So if you're at loggerheads with these, with the FDC, and then they are set to take over the leadership of iPod, don't you think this will continue to bring about the divisions that we see?
You see, me, I have a strong belief that some parties in Uganda were not designed to take up leadership, or were not designed to come to power. Because if iPod is a summit that brings all political forces together to discuss and see how to work together. Actually, NRM in that summit is the least represented, because everybody brings 5 members. NRM brings 5, DP 5, GEMA 5, FDC 5. So at the end of the day, you'll see that opposition will have very many voices against NRM. So I don't know why you would fear to go and articulate issues to bring your points across. So now if you boycott those things, and then tomorrow you want to come and say, I want to be the leader of something that you boycotted before, and then you set out an agenda and say, we can only come to iPod, or we are going to take up the leadership of iPod, because I was listening to Honorable Semuju very well. He said, we are going to take up the leadership of iPod, but our only agenda, and the only thing we shall discuss in iPod, is the departure of President Museveni. Now, we know that in Uganda, every after 5 years, there are elections. This is constitution. And the decision of whether Mr. Museveni goes or stays is in the hands of Ugandans. It's not in the hands of FDC. Ugandans go to the ballot and decide whether the president should continue.
But it's their constitutional right to sit, have a meeting, and draw a roadmap on how best they can trounce President Museveni.
At Najana Nkumbi. Not in iPod. Let them go to Najana Nkumbi. Let them devise means of how Museveni will go, because since 2001, 2006, 2021, they have been singing the same things, agenda, but the man is continuing to be strong, is here to stay.
That's because they say that the vote has been rigged since 2001 when Besigye fronted his interest to become president.
Okay, now, me as a politician now, there are things I laugh at. Parliament, let me say, has 450 MPs. These MPs are voted on the same day with the president. So FDC wants Ugandans to believe that people go and vote NRM MPs. Then after voting NRM MPs, then they vote Besigye. Because NRM has more than 380 MPs there. You get my point?
Yeah.
So the presumption, which I think only a mad person can think, is that somebody goes and votes an NRM MP, then comes and ticks Dr. Besigye for president.
And
because if you cannot even raise 50 members of parliament out of a house of 450, how can you say you won an election? Then that one is finished. Then we go to LCs. After the parliamentary and presidential, we go to LCs. Uganda probably, at the time of elections, had 115 districts. Then Museveni has more than 100 LC5 chairpersons and more than 80% of the councillors. Then you say you won an election. Okay, let's go to the just concluded LC1 elections. This was after Tojikwata call, after a lot of mobilization. They said this today NRM is gone. Tell me what happened.
Their logic, according to the opposition,
85% of all positions are taken by NRM.
The logic of the opposition is that there is no way those elements can rig for the president and not rig the lower level elections right there. You cannot rig for the president and not rig for the MPs and the local council elections. And they were contending that it's the reason why they were so focused on creating these numerous districts so that they could, you know, do their magic. Well, the public is not seeing.
You know me, I always want to talk about places I know. I contested in the last election as a parliamentary candidate. I was NRM but independent, leaning. I got 10,600 votes. And most of my supporters were supporters of President Museveni in my constituency. My constituency is called Mukono North. The NRM flag bearer, Honorable Chule Ronald, got 11,000. Now, in that race, there was an opposition candidate who used to go and sing Besigye. He got 6,000. And another opposition candidate who used to sing Besigye got 500. So now compare. In Mukono here, just near here, NRM is in 20 plus thousands. FDC and its candidates is in 6,000. So now, and they had the polling agents, they did the tallying. Now, that one translates what happens even at national. People should not think that magic is going to be created at national when there is nothing on the ground. They are in Kampala here, every time they are in Kampala, they are in Ambole. NRM is doing groundwork, strategizing, strengthening itself, and I want to assure you, even the numbers they have in parliament are going to reduce in 2021. Because NRM is going to win, some seats have, NRM has already identified. For example, in Mukono, we are going to take back Mukono municipality because it was recently being occupied by the opposition. We want to make Mukono all yellow. So you're going to be shocked in 2021 that even the numbers they have today are going to reduce. Then after they'll come out and say, we are what? Look at what happened in Hoima.
And yeah,
you look at what happened in Kabul. These are recent
and
events.
they were saying that it's the reason why they were beaten in Hoima. It's because of the heavy police presence right there that intimidated most of the voters who did not show up by 9 and 10 a.m. Actually, voting hadn't started in some areas. And there were also reports that some polling areas were shifted to some unknown places.
How come they won in the urban areas, in the urban centers?
So that is it. They were saying there was some kind of rigging.
Why is it that where they win, there is no rigging? In Arua, they won. You know, they're always good at winning in small areas.
But they won in Arua, but you saw the chaos that ensued.
You go to Arua with about 20 villages, a few polling stations. You go to Jinja, a few polling stations, about 25 polling stations. They have effective mobilization in small areas. Bring them to a large area where people really sit and look at issues. What has NRM done? And it's not about feelings and emotions. Because you need to have a clear message to the voters. The opposition in Uganda lacks a clear message to the voters. Their only interest is, where is Museveni going? Museveni agende. Museveni aluddeko. You see, you cannot have that as a slogan. The question is, yes, he has been here for some time. You want him to go. Why?
And what are you willing to offer?
And what are you willing to offer? So if you can't explain why and your alternative policies, then Ugandans will stick to the devil they know than the angel they have never seen.
But and then opposition, that's what they've been trying to do, to explain the why bit to the people right there. And they've been frustrated one too many times by state agencies that are blocking them from organizing these rallies to talk to their people. How will they pass on this message to the electorate if they are not being allowed to carry out campaigns vis-a-vis rallies?
I want to put you on the spot. Just give me 5 alternative policies that People Power has promised Ugandans.
Of course, that is people power. We are talking about BCJ.
Let's go to FDC.
Yes.
Just give me 5 policy alternatives as opposed to NRM that FDC stands for and Ugandans know them.
Of course, they haven't fronted any policies to right now. According to what the opposition is saying, the president has to go. Even if when you ask them, what are you willing to do for the country, they will tell you one thing. The president has to go. If he goes, and then we shall figure out the next plan.
No. Let me tell you.
Because they think the cancer is coming from the president.
Let me tell you, Ugandans are brighter than these people give them credit for. That one will not sell. And I want to tell you time and again, Museveni will continue winning them and the NRM will continue winning if that is their strategy.
But if the opposition is so weak, Mr. Nsubuga, why isn't the government letting them move freely, hold their rallies? If they are few in parliament, if they are very weak, why aren't they being given that freedom to talk to the electorate?
Can I ask you a question?
Go ahead.
What position does Dr. Besigye occupy in FDC?
Is the strong man.
No, that's not a position.
It's like the elder in there.
That's not a position. Because you see, under iPod, they agreed. And that's actually even the other problem that Honorable Kyagulanyi is facing. Because now, when he goes to Chad Dondo, where is the area member of parliament, I have never seen police stop him to do anything. Because the area member of parliament in where? In Chad Dondo. But now when he crosses and comes to Mukono, unless he has come for burial, unless he has come to attend church.
But isn't it his constitutional right to move from Chadondo to this other area?
There is a time under the law for everything. I want to ask you and be observant. Once the presidential nominations are done in July next year, whether Dr. Besigye is nominated, whether my brother Honorable Kyagulanyi is nominated, or whoever is nominated for president, if you see any police officer stopping any person or group to go and mobilize, to go and campaign, to do anything, then you'll say, Uganda has gone to the dogs. There is a campaign period. The campaign period has not started. What the Electoral Commission now allows consultation, closed door consultations. I come to a room like this one, I call my supporters, all my campaigners, all my strategists, we sit and start planning. But these people want hold rallies. Hold rallies in your constituencies. For example, Honorable Kyagulanyi can go and hold rallies in Chadon as the area member of parliament. Nobody will stop him. But if he wants to go to Masindi, let him wait until he's nominated as a presidential candidate.
The president wants to do the same right now, do you think police can stop him?
But you see, the president is
the
president of Uganda.
That's their problem. That is their problem.
And you see, the president
right
of Uganda, the president of Uganda, that's what they are forgetting. Like me now, I'm running for parliament. I'm going to participate in the NRM primaries. But my area MP, whom I'm going to contest against, is the area MP now. Actually, he holds gatherings and turns them into rallies. But he will say, I'm in my tenure, because I was given 5 years, I'm serving my people. You get my point. So you have to wait for the right time. Use other avenues. Use other means. Reach out to the people.
The campaigns haven't started. That is verifiably true. But we are looking at the previous campaigns in 2015. It happened. These people couldn't be allowed to hold any rally. And there were also actually he was being blocked from going to some areas. He was not allowed to go to some areas. And then
pre-nomination.
And then after what happened, there was also a directive to have everyone who was campaigning to stop at 6. But then we saw the president exceed the threshold of 6 p.m. Others were being castigated, but the president was getting the leeway to do the same. Are you saying he was doing it in the capacity as president? And if so, don't you think this is the reason why opposition is worried?
But you see, there are some things really.
Because we are heading into that cycle, and then we are going to be seeing this happen again.
I'm going to ask a very pragmatic question. I'm contesting against you. We are all speaking to the voters. So if you speak at 7 p.m. and me, I spoke at 5, so what happens? That the words that people receive after 6 are more likely to be distilled in than the words you speak at 5.
According to the Electoral Commission guidelines, no candidate should have exceeded the threshold of 6 p.m., but the president was exceeding it, while other opposition strongmen were not being allowed to do the same.
Honorable Mambabazi, the right honorable, went to court. I think that issue was put there. So let's look at what the judgment said and the recommendations that were made. But let's go to the main issues. The main issue is, as our viewers take note, that campaigns are allowed after nomination. What is allowed now is consultation. What is allowed now is consultation. So let them consult. Nobody is refusing them to consult. That's why you see DP will go to Zambia, Sharing Hall, they'll go to Masaka in an environment, consult their electorate, consult their members. Once the campaigns are open, nobody will stop anyone in Uganda.
So, Mr. Nsumbuga, you're saying once the campaigns kick off, you're not going to see any scenario where opposition MPs
and we've been having elections since
and strongmen aren't
here.
being stopped from moving around the country?
Nowhere.
You will be surprised when we hit the campaigns.
Nowhere, but I'll come here and tell you. But
because if they're not allowed to hold simple meetings where they're going to take a cup of tea and discuss the way forward.
But you know the laws. Unfortunately, as we conclude, Ugandans should know nobody's above the law. And Uganda is a law abiding. For example, now what happened at the number of incidents? The law still gives them a remedy that if you're dissatisfied with the actions of the police at that time, you go and make an appeal with the magistrate in the local jurisdiction of the area. These seasoned politicians know these things. But because we are entering the political arena now, they want to use every chance they can get to get the limelight. So, and now our police officers should be trained, should be told, don't play, leave him. He's going to wave and go away. What is going to happen? Uganda is not going to come to a standstill. He has been waving for the last 20 years. What was those services going to do to us? Waving at people in Ichireka and Nakawa? Nothing.
That has been the argument of all Ugandans. Waving isn't going to kill anyone. They should let him do what he wants.
These overzealous police officers, I think the president was right when he said there is Kawukumini police. Intelligence has to investigate and find out whom they are working for. We might be seated here when they're working for a third party we don't know. So some of their actions
good thing we agree on that one. So let's wrap this up with the Interparty Organization for Dialogue right there. NRM, UPC and GEMA, you've tasked FDC to sign some kind of commitment before taking over the mantle, which they were supposed to take over in September, but it has lagged already. Do you think this throws the iPod organization in more disarray?
Not really.
Because they are refusing. You're telling them sign a commitment and they're saying no. Do you think it throws the iPod organization in disarray?
If the donors supporting iPod want people to work together, and for you are saying for us we want to work alone, so I think we have a problem there.
A big problem indeed. Kenneth Nsumbuga is a political analyst and lawyer. He's a left NRM-leaning political analyst and lawyer right there. That's why you've been hearing his conversation centering a little bit to the NRM. But then that is it. Thank you very much, Kenneth, for making the time to speak to us. Well, let's take a very short break. We'll be right back with more information. Keep it here on Morning at NTV.
You're watching Morning at NTV.